subhanahu wa ta'ala does not ignore pain. Allah does not ignore our feelings. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in fact shows that He cares about our emotions, He cares about our feelings, He cares about the way that things land on the believers, even if He knows they are good for them. And so the pain is not the problem. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala honors the pain. وَلَا تَهِنُوا وَلَا تَحْزَنُوا وَأَنْتُمُ الْأَعْلَوْنَ إِن كُنتُم مُؤْمِنِينَ. Do not grieve, don't lose heart, don't feel fear, because you are indeed the victorious party so long as you remain upon belief. We know that what they say about you, يَحْزُنُكَ, it makes you sad. We understand the grief that you're feeling, O Prophet of Allah. Allah Azza wa Jal even says, subhanAllah, just thinking about this hadith Qudsi, the end of it, and you can miss it if you're reading through it fast, especially the last line of a hadith. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمَا تَرَدَّدْتُ عَنْ شَيْءٍ أَنَا فَاعِلُهُ تَرَدُّدِي عَنْ نَفْسِ الْمُؤْمِنِ. That I don't hesitate with anything that I do the way that I hesitate in taking the soul of a believer. Why? Is it because death is not good for the believer at the time that it is? No. يَكْرَهُ الْمَوْتِ وَأَنَا أَكْرَهُ مُسَاءَتَهُ. He hates death and I hate disappointing him. What a relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He hates death and I don't like to disappoint him. Even though Allah knows that's the appointed time, وَلَا بُدَّ لَهُ مِنْهُ. That is, what every inevitable ending looks like for every single person. I care about how my believing servant feels about something that is inevitable. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala actually honors those feelings. He honors those emotions. He makes it a point, مَا أَنزَلْنَا عَلَيْكَ الْقُرْآنَ لِتَشْقَى. The Qur'an was not revealed upon you to cause you undue burden or distress. He tells the Prophet ﷺ, يَسِّرُوا وَلَا تُعَسِّرُوا, to make things easy, not to make things hard. And he says, بَشِّرُوا وَلَا تُنَفِّرُوا. And give glad tidings, don't deflate people. Very interesting hadith, subhanAllah, because if you read the sharh of the hadith, the explanation of that prophetic narration, the first part of the hadith, يَسِّرُوا وَلَا تُعَسِّرُوا, make things easy, don't make things difficult, means in regards to the prescription of the actual rulings, the law, the ahkam, right? Allah wants for you ease. How does He want for you ease? He says it in the Qur'an. If you're sick, you don't have to fast. If you're on a journey, then you're excused. There are certain dispensations and concessions that are embedded within the law so that there's yusr, it's not usr. When you travel, you can shorten your prayers. In fact, Allah likes that you shorten your prayers when you travel. Allah likes that you take His concessions the way that He likes that you take on the difficult commands. So the first line of the hadith, يَسِّرُوا وَلَا تُعَسِّرُوا, is in regards to the ahkam, in regards to the law itself. The second line, بَشِّرُوا وَلَا تُنَفِّرُوا, give people glad tidings, don't deflate them, speaks more to the delivery and the way it's going to land, and how people should not be told things in a way that they're going to feel like salvation is impossible and Allah's mercy is inaccessible, and that halak nas, everything is done. They should not be made hopeless and fall into despair. So all of this is actually deeply evident through the Qur'an and through the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ that Allah does actually care how we feel. And Allah does care how His servants feel when they are undergoing difficulty. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has taken that into consideration with the revelation and with the legislation. But then there's a second layer to this. There's a problem when you approach religion, when you approach deen for dopamine, and you're not willing to engage in the discipline. When your dua becomes like a form of like mood regulation and how I make myself feel better with my dua and my supplications, my prayers become about how I deal with the situation, not actually changing the situation, how I deal with the situation, how I feel. That Allah is going to make me feel a certain way. Even though you make du'as, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-hammi wal-hazan, you ask Allah Azza wa Jal to protect you from being paralyzed or incapacitated by anxiety or grief. But when du'a solely becomes about that, when the Qur'an becomes about the inspirational quote to get you through the next day, and it becomes all about religion as therapy, And the religion of Allah is not therapy. There are therapeutic elements of the religion. There are therapeutic elements of this mission. There are things that are embedded with living with a life of purpose that allow you to face what are otherwise obstacles that are impossible to overcome. There are therapeutic elements, but the religion cannot become therapy. It can't become chasing dopamine. It can't become, I want to feel better, and that's why I'm going to pray this prayer, and that's why I'm going to do this thing that I heard that if I do this, that I'll feel better. Because sometimes Allah doesn't want you to feel better, He wants you to do better. Sometimes Allah wants you to be better. And that comes through the difficult prescriptions of sadness, of toil, of mission, of burden. It comes through those things. And you have to accept that. And there's always this healthy medium of, I should feel a sense of deficiency. I should feel like I should be doing more. Imam Hassan al-Basri rahimahullah ta'ala, he says, المؤمن يعمل الطاعات وهو مشفق وجل خائف والفاجر يعمل بالمعاصي وهو آمن. He said radiyallahu ta'ala anhu rahimahullah that the believer performs good deeds and the heart trembles and there is a fear that maybe I need to do more for it to be accepted. And there is this sense of feeling charged to take the next step. Whereas the sinner commits their sins, وَهُوَ آمِن, and they feel completely safe from those sins. Like they're fine. I'm okay in life. Right? So the believer feels entrusted with something that's deeper, with something that's greater, that encompasses a certain sense of stress and burden to move you to another level of yourself for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah Azza wa Jal constantly makes it a point to say, it was not to stress you out. It was not to hurt you. Allah takes no joy in causing you pain. Allah takes no joy in disappointing you. But there are necessary burdens that exist in this life to wean you off of it a bit. And subhanAllah, I was even thinking about the ayah, Inna ma'al usri yusra. Inna ma'al usri yusra. Verily with hardship comes ease. We share this ayah to comfort ourselves. We share this ayah to make ourselves steadfast. But look how quickly Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala qualifies it so that you don't become sedated by the verse. فَإِذَا فَرَغْتَ فَانصَبْ. And so when you free up from something, whether it is getting out of a difficult moment or passing through this difficult trial, fansab. And the root of fansab, nasaba, actually comes from fatigue. Exert yourself. Put yourself through exertion. It's very interesting because it's the same root of the word that Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha, we know it most in her narration, when Jibreel alayhi salam came to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to give the Prophet ﷺ the message to Khadija, to give her the glad tidings of Jannah, give her the glad tidings of a home in paradise made of pearl, la sakhaba fihi wa la nasab, in which there is no noise and no fatigue. The stress is gone.